Welcome to the FY23 budget presentation. We have some folks that are in the central office that are going to help with the presentation and also help with some of the technical aspects of this. So I guess at this point, we should share the screen and bring up our presentation, please. Right, I just have to adjust this here. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is our proposed FY23 budget presentation as required by Vermont statute. We're doing our public informational meeting tonight. It will be recorded and hopefully you'll be able to have an opportunity as the public to hear this several times between now and when we vote. Next slide, please. This is just to give you a little overview of the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors. I'm Nilda Ganella French and I'm the board chair. And as you can see here, there's a list of the 10 board members representing 9 votes. Fairfield has 2 members that are each a half a vote, and that's all based on population. And Joanna Jaros is running for re-election, as is Nina Hunziker, and Alicia Sawyer is leaving the board and her seat is open, and there are 2 candidates right now running for that seat. Next slide, please. So we're going to review a few things tonight with you, and besides myself, you'll hear from Bill Kimball, the superintendent, and Martha Gagne, the business manager. We're going to talk about who we are, about our campuses, our mission and goals, our budget, a little education on the tax rate, what the items are on the ballot, and where you can go to vote. Next slide, please. Okay, so who are we? Well, we're a lot. We have, I think it totals to be 5 campuses, plus we have the central office, and we also have the Collins Pearly Sports Complex. So this shows a breakdown of how many students are at each location. But as you can see, there's over 2,700 students, actually approaching 2,800 students, quite a population of students. City school, town school, Fairfield, BFA, and the Northwest Career Center, which also incidentally has some adult programs. Next slide, please. This is just some photos of each of the schools, and you can tell they're all labeled. This is kind of a catchy picture. I think this is a great picture to show someone who's considering moving to the area, to show them all the different schools and how beautiful they all are. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we became Maple Run Unified School District about 5 or 6 years ago, we ended up revising our mission statement. So what you see in front of you is our current mission statement. I'm not going to read the whole slide to you, but I am going to read the mission statement because I think it's really important. The Maple Run Unified School District is where inquiring minds, compassionate hearts, creative expression, healthy lives, and service to the community develop so all can learn, achieve, and succeed. And to that end, we have core values that are listed there. And also, I just wanted to remind everyone that because during the pandemic, we also saw a real need to help students, an increasing need to help the students with both social and emotional learning issues. Next slide, please. I'll turn it over to Bill Kimball.
Great, thanks, Nilda. I wanted to take some time and kind of review, before we get into the budget review, how we're using our recovery funds, otherwise known as ESSER. There are 3 grants that come to us, ESSER 1 and ESSER 2. Were meant for school districts to respond to the pandemic by helping with salaries, food, personnel, personal protective equipment, and other immediate needs. ESSER 3, or ARP-ESSER, is a method to provide means of recovery from the pandemic. Through these 3 grants, Maple Run was awarded $13.2 million to support our recovery efforts through the summer of 2024. We've been using these funds almost for our entire school year at this point. Our recovery from the pandemic will enable Maple Run to provide the personnel and resources needed to measure where our students are academically and socially and emotionally, as well as to provide them with the means to meet the expectation of our district's mission, as Nilda just showed you earlier on the past slide. If you could switch to the next one. To support the recovery this coming year, Maple Run will use ESSER 3 funds to support the cost of 21 professionals, including social workers, school counselors, and teachers. These funds, the funds needed for these positions are not included in the general budget or in the proposed budget for next year. In the social emotional learning, mental health, and well-being, we have added 2 additional nurses and 2 social workers. In addition to those personnel, we want to ensure that all staff have the training to create a positive climate for learning through restorative practices and social emotional learning embedded throughout the school day. In order to ensure the staff have the skills they need, we have to provide professional development to every member of our team in Maple Run. In addition, to respond to the increase caused by the pandemic, we need to upgrade our buildings' HVAC systems and safety to ensure access for all students. Right now, with our ESSER-related funds, we're planning on those upgrades will cost us approximately $3.9 million across all of our campuses. Next slide. In engagement and attendance, this year we were able to hire 9 building substitutes to help our teachers as they worked on revising our curriculum and social emotional systems. As a result of the hiring of these teachers, they filled in for educators who have either taken leave for other positions or were not able to, or for other positions we were not able to hire for due to the current lack of applicants and hiring climate that we're in, not just in education, but across all sectors of employment. To meet the needs of some of our students, we have been able to use the ESSER funds to start an alternative program that will keep our students at greater risk of dropping out of school and providing a flexible learning environment to support their daily needs. In addition to creating this program, we're able to hire 2 family engagement specialists to work with students and families at risk of either dropping out or failure. As we look at the academics, to support our student recovery from the pandemic, we've hired 4 additional teachers to help students make up the learning loss during the pandemic and really during our remote learning last academic year. In addition, we're supporting both after school and summertime engagement and learning opportunities for students to help regain their academic standing across all of our schools. In our envisioning plan, our data pointed to, and our survey results from our education community, that we needed to realign our curriculum in all content areas, including social emotional learning. As I stated in our last slide, our initial thinking behind hiring 9 building substitutes was to help support our staff in providing time for our teachers to create our curriculum or revise our curriculum. But as I said earlier, these 9 additional positions have helped support positions that were not filled due to hiring issues. Also, last year, we were able to provide Chromebooks to every student in the high school, and that's part of the remote learning supplies that we're funding by ESSER. Next slide. The budget that we're proposing for the fiscal year 2023 is a total of $64,797,075. We've worked hard to keep the expenses down while delivering the services that our students need. And this proposed budget is an increase of 4.75% on the expenditure over the current year. As we look at the budget overall on the next slide, this is our overall budget is primarily driven by increases in the salaries and benefits, along with the addition of positions described that will be described in the next slide. Looking at the budget overall, 76% of our budget is allocated for the current staffing of the schools to support our children's learning. Next slide. When we looked, as I said earlier, we were talking about ESSER, we had a $13 million allocation from the federal government, but that will not cover all the costs identified with our pandemic-related needs. The pandemic costs will continue to increase as the effects of the pandemic has extended over a second school year. Our largest increase after salary and benefits from this current school year to the proposed budget is in the social emotional learning, mental health, and well-being. The local budget, we're looking for additional guidance counselors, social workers, family engagement specialists, and support personnel to ensure students can access their learning. Also, you'll see there's some additional costs and engagement and attendance for people to support students that are at risk of dropping out due to attendance issues, and professional development in the engagement area. In the academic area, we're looking to hire 2 full-time staff members, one to ensure that we have on-site instruction for world languages across all of our pre-K 8 buildings, and to expand access to driver's education at the high school. Next, Martha Gagnon will provide more details about the budget and the tax rates calculations.
So this slide gives us a summary by the major cost centers. And as you can see, we've got instruction pre-K through 12 at 21 million and change, and special education services at 15 million. Those are our 2 largest areas of expenditure because they are the ones that hold the highest number of personnel costs. And then you can see some of the other areas that our budget is broken down to come up with the $64,797,075. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I'm going to start talking about the property tax, and the way that the property tax in Vermont is calculated is we start with our expenditure budget as we've just presented, the $64,797,075. From that figure, we reduce the amount by our local revenues. Our local revenues include items such as interest income, tuition income, grants, reimbursements, and so on and so forth. It brings us to our remaining amount, which is our education spending, which we are predicting it to be $75,976,065 at this point. We take that figure and we divide it by the equalized pupil count that the state, the Agency of Education, has calculated for MRUSD for FY23, which is 2,487.37 equalized pupils. Those are, it's a calculation the state uses to equalize the number of students across the state and the cost to educate the various grade levels and educational needs of different students. Once we come up with our equalized pupil count, we take the education spending and divide it by the equalized pupil count to come up with the MRUSD education spending per equalized pupil, which we are calculating it to be an estimated $18,484. Once you get this figure, we go another step, which we actually divide that number by the yield, which I don't have on this chart. The yield right now we are using is $12,937, which is actually set by the legislature, and that is just an estimated figure at this point that will not be finalized until later in the legislative session. It brings us to our estimated equalized homestead tax rate, which is our education tax rate of $1.42.88. This year is our first year since our merger that we do not have a tax rate incentive, so we no longer have the reduced tax rate that we had enjoyed over the last 5 years. So our estimated adjusted tax rate at this point is $1.4288. Next slide. So this chart just kind of gives you an idea of where we have been able to hold the education tax rate since our merger. The tax rates are rounded, so the numbers aren't quite exact. But prior to our merger, we were coming in at $1.45, 42, 46. And we're predicting our tax rate for this year to be $1.43. So over the 7 years since our merger, we have pretty much held our tax rate pretty flat. Next slide, please. This is a slide to compare what the proposed tax rate is for FY23 compared to FY22 once we have applied the CLA, the common level of appraisal. In the for the various municipalities, St. Albans City is estimated to have a 2.34 cent tax rate increase. This is after the CLA adjustment. St. Albans Town is estimated to have a 1.15 cent tax rate increase, and Fairfield is estimated to have a 1.42 cent decrease in the tax rate. Next slide, please. This slide shows the same information, but maybe a little bit easier to read. You start with your FY22 tax rate, compare it to your FY23 tax rate. With prior to the common level of appraisal, the MRUSD tax rate is estimated to go down slightly over 6 cents. Once we adjust for the common level of appraisal for each town, you'll see the net estimated tax rate impact as I stated from the previous slide. Next slide, please. So with our estimated homestead tax rate, we are estimating for St. Albans City for a $200,000 homestead, the tax rate impact is going to be roughly $47 annually. Next slide. For St. Albans Town, for the same $200,000 homestead, the tax rate impact is going to be about $23 annually. As you can see, the various homestead values and the tax rate impact. Next slide. In Fairfield, for the same $200,000 homestead, we are estimating a $28 decrease in your annual tax rate. Next slide. The previous slides did not take into consideration the income sensitivity cap, which we are strongly recommending that anybody who qualifies to please apply. And this gives you an idea of what that tax rate cap can do for your tax burden. Now I will hand this over back to Nilda Ganella.
Thanks, Martha. A lot of detail in that information. In addition to voting for the proposed budget, there's also several other articles on the ballot. Article 1 is to elect a clerk. Anna has been in that position for a while, and she's seeking re-election. We also need to elect a treasurer. It's a one-year term, and Amanda Forbes is seeking re-election for that position. Next slide, please. We also have 3 seats on the school board that are we stagger these off so nobody leaves at the same time. So right now, Nina Hunsinger's position is up for re-election, and she's running. And also Joanna Jaros from Fairfield is up for re-election, and she is running. In addition to that, there is a race in the seat for St. Albans City with Ryer Erickson and Keith Longmore running for the same seat. Next slide, please. And then there's another article, that's Article 4, and is requesting that we authorize the Board of Directors to borrow money not in excess of the anticipated revenue for the school year. We are allowed by the Vermont statute to do this when this is on the ballot every year. allows for interest income, allows for uninterrupted invoice processing, and it reduces our opportunities for late fees. So, and this doesn't get added to your tax bill at all. So next I'm going to turn it back over to Bill Kimball so he can review the rest of the items on the ballot.
Thank you, Nilda. If we can go, yes. This Article 5 is about authorizing the Maple Run Unified School District to put any audited general fund balance for this current fiscal year, 2022, into capital reserve fund to be used for capital improvements of the district. This is something that's happened for quite a few years, I think, since the inception of Maple Run, and is keeps our costs down and taking care of the buildings for the citizens and the students. Next article. This next article is about school budget. The wording on here is directed by statute and only allows us to put in the figures in the underlying position. So it says, shall the legal voters of Maple Run Unified School District approve the board of directors to expand $64,797,075, which is the amount the board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022. It's estimated that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in education spending of $18,484 per equalized pupil. This projected spending per equalized pupil is 8.12% higher than spending for the current year. We showed you other information about the budget in this presentation, but this is the ballot item as directed by the state statute. If we could go to the next slide. Right now, currently, we're in early voting time, absentee ballot. If you so choose, you can go talk to your town or city clerk about getting a ballot all the way up to Monday, February 28, 2022. And then you must have it in by that time as well. You can go to the town clerk's office before that time, or I'm not sure if we're at the point where it can be mailed at this point and delivered back before election day. So that is some ways that you can vote prior to the election, and I'm going to hand it back to Nilda Ganella French.
Thank you. So all three of the communities, Fairfield, City, and Town of St. Albans, vote by Australian ballot. There are 3 polling places. Fairfield residents are voting at the Fairfield Town Office, which is on 25 North Road. St. Albans City residents are voting at St. Albans City Hall, 100 North Main Street. Pardon me. And St. Albans Town residents are voting at the Collins Pearly Sports Complex, 890 Fairfax Road. So as you watch this presentation, if you have any questions that come up, you can call one of us. You can call Bill Kimball at the central office, or you can give me a call and sorry, and I will probably ask Bill for the answer. But I wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for anyone who had any questions tonight to ask us questions. So I guess you can put that last slide on. I want to thank everyone that is listening to this presentation either now or in the future, and remind you all to get out there and vote, and to remember that if you have any questions, you can ask us. You can email Bill at the central office. Please put budget question in the subject line so that'll attract his attention, and we'll do our best to get back to you in a timely manner. Any questions for us? You can turn off the presentation and put us back to our Zoom view, please. Thank you. So I see we haven't acquired too many more people, but if any of the folks that are online, if you have any questions, if you could just put your name in the chat, and we're happy to address your question. Well, I'm not seeing anything, so I would like to thank Bill and Martha for their part in the presentation. I'd like to thank the board members that are present for the presentation, and I want to encourage everyone to get out there and vote. Thank you once again, and have a great night.